And help us out during this time. We are in the book of Ecclesiastes, making our way through what Solomon's experiment is about pursuing all the issues of life that he thought were going to give him fulfillment and satisfaction. And when he came to the end of all of his pursuits, he said, it's just vain and empty. It's futile. And you may have found yourself in that position sometimes, wondering what it's like to try to find something of significance that will help you go through these days. Ecclesiastes 9, Solomon writes these words. I'm going to read the first 9 verses, and then we'll make our way through chapters 9 and chapter 10, dealing with life and death. And there's so much here that Solomon has to say to us this morning. Chapter 9, verse 1, for I've taken all this to my heart and explain it, that the righteous men, wise men, and their deeds are in the hand of God. Man does not know whether it will be love or his hatred, anything awaits him. It is the same for all. There is one fate for the righteous and for the wicked, for the good and for the clean, and for the unclean, for the man who offers a sacrifice and for the one who does not sacrifice. As the good man is, so is the sinner. As the swearer is, so is the one who is afraid to swear. This is an evil in all that is done under the sun, that there is one fate for all men. That is very interesting. All men, no matter how they live, head to one place, and that is a place called death. Furthermore, the hearts of the sons of men are full of evil, and insanity is in their hearts throughout their lives. Afterwards, they go to the dead. For whoever is joined with all the living, there is hope. Surely a live dog is better than a dead lion. For the living know they will die, but the dead do not know anything, nor have they any longer a reward, for their memory is forgotten. Indeed, their love, their hate, and their zeal have already perished, and they will no longer have a share in all that is done under the sun. Go then, eat your bread in happiness, and drink your wine with a cheerful heart, for God has already approved your works. Let your clothes be white all the time, and let not oil be lacking on your head. Enjoy life with the woman whom you love all the days of your fleeting life, which he has given you under the sun. For this is your reward in life and in your toil in which you have labored under the sun. I lived for a number of years near St. Augustine. There's a place over there called the Fountain of Youth. For many years, men thought that there was actually a place that the water would come forth and give people some type of a longevity or some type of eternal life in some way. So people were looking for a place like that. And when St. Augustine came along, there were those who came and looked for a place that would give them that, and the Fountain of Youth was found there. They thought it was supposed to restore the youth of anybody who drinks from it in any way. So Ponce de Leon in 1513, as he came to St. Augustine, said, this is the place where you drink this water and you will have some type of longevity or eternal life. Now, Jesus had a take on that with the woman at the well. She came to him in John chapter 4, and he told her he could give her some water that would give her life beyond the water that was in that well. And she said, give me some of this, because there is a water that gives us that kind of life. So Jesus also came to the pool of Bethsaida sometimes, because people were coming to that water to find healing for whatever was ailing them. They were looking to find some type of way to extend their life. And in John chapter 7, Jesus said, if you come to me and drink, you'll have living water flowing out of you. And so all this reference to the life and the life that is in the water is mentioned in this time. So in Ecclesiastes 9, we find Solomon writing for us a number of things about life and death. Someone said years ago in a poem called Graveyards, oh, why do people waste their breath inventing dainty names for death? We call it everything under the sun. We don't call it what it is. We call it by sweet names. We call it by nice-sounding names. But death has a way of striking terror in the hearts of men. It has a way of making us come to reality with what we're facing in life, and that is that all men will die, and all of us will come to a place where our body ends, our life ends. Solomon has discussed death all through this writing. He's told us all about the things about this. So this morning, I want you to see with me some of the things Solomon says, chapter 9, about death and life. He says in chapter 9, first of all, death is certain. Death is certain. Now, you think about it for a minute. You've known people who've lived wonderful lives, and sometimes I think about people that I even hear their voices. Like I hear my dad's voice talking sometimes in a situation, yet he's been dead several years now. And we think about that. No matter how wonderful people are, no matter how old they live, they all come to a place where they die. Woody Allen said, "I'm not afraid to die. I just don't want to be there when it happens." And so a lot of people look at death as a door they do not want to go through, but all men will go through that door. All will come to that place of death. And so the reactions to death are varied. There's some who want to escape death, like verse 3 says, this is an evil in all that is done under the sun, that there is one fate for all men. There's one place that all will come to, no matter whether you're good or whether you're bad or whether you're righteous or whether you're wicked. All men will come to a place where the body will die. People have tried to prolong that by escaping death. Back when Vladimir Lenin died in the Soviet Union in the early days of its revolution and taking over from the czars, they took the body of Vladimir Lenin and they put him in a glass case, they embalmed his body, and he looked as good as he did 100 years ago. And people have gone to Red Square and gone to see the body of Vladimir Lenin, and they look at it and say, how can this guy look so good after all these years? Well, a lot of work has gone on to make him look that good, and we're not sure what exactly is going on, but he sits under there and lines still come. Tourists come from all over the world to see the body of Vladimir Lenin, but his body is gone, and no matter how good they make him look, he cannot escape the fact he died 100 years ago. And so we try to escape death. There is a common destiny, Solomon says, that is for all of us. We can run away with it, we can try to divert ourselves from it, but it always comes, and it always comes to every man. There are some who try to just endure it. They say, well, if I take good care of myself, and you look around, and there's, every time you see a building come empty, there's a gym there. And people are flooding in there by the dozens to sign up to work out and exercise and keep the body young. And you know what? I always had this motto in my life, and that was, no pain, no pain. And so that's what I seek to have in my life. And I don't want to make myself work harder than I need to, because I will come to the place where all of us will come to the end of life. So exercise, eating right, all those things may be good. They're okay. Nothing wrong with that. But if you hope and you have faith in faith, you're missing the point. It is not that which makes you live forever. Solomon also points out that some people try to just enjoy life. He says that's important. Don't give up. Just enjoy life. I like what he says there. He says about eating and drinking, just enjoying what God has given you. And when he says in verse 8, let your clothes be white all the time, he's saying let yourself look like you're not in mourning, but you're in celebration. And he says also, he said, let not oil be lacking on your head. Back in the days when you would put oil on your head to kind of look like you were freshened up and ready for the day, that's what they wanted to do. Enjoy life with a person God has put in your life, and that is what he has put there for you. Enjoy these things. Don't live your life trying to and get out of these things, but enjoy the life you have. You can look at life today and you can say there's so many problems, so many issues. You can think about a lot of wicked people in your life that have died. You can think about a lot of righteous people in your life that died. People think about Charlie Kirk and the assassination that happened just a few days ago. And they say, how can a man at 31, how can his life be taken in that way? And then some say, how can a wicked man live so long and do what he does? And we ask ourselves all these questions. But you know what? Moses said in one of the Psalms, God has numbered our days. Now that's kind of interesting, isn't it? And so if God numbers your days and you live to a long life, what does it matter? You're still going to come to a place of death. If God numbers your days and they're short, you're still going to come to a place of death. And whether you're wicked or whether you're righteous, whether you know the Lord or you don't know the Lord, all men will come to a place called death. So death is certain. You've heard it said that the certain things are death and taxes. Well, I can tell you this. it is definitely going to be death in our lives. He talked about the occasions of death, and that marriage is important, work is important, all these things. But people try to find ways to avoid the idea of death. The realities of death are this. Hebrews 9:27 says, "It is appointed unto man once to die, and after that, the judgment." So every person will give account of himself to God. Every person will stand before God and have to give account of his life. The scriptures have said that over and over. And so there's an appointment already set that you will not miss. I have doctor's appointments sometimes, and they send me texts, and they send me messages, they send me emails. They want to know, are you still going to be there? Are you still going to be there? And the ones I really hate are the ones that tell you on the day before you're supposed to go, we have to reschedule you. Yeah, I kept my appointment, you didn't keep yours. But you will not miss the appointment with God. Your email may not come, your text may not come, your phone call may not come, but when God has set an appointment with you, every one of us will be there, and every one of us will arrive at that appointment. It's an appointment that has already been set in the heart and mind of God. Now, what does this have to do with man and his determination? Because people say, I want to live to this, I want to live to that, I want to do this. Let me tell you something, no matter what our plans are, make all the plans you want to under God, God has determined our days. God has numbered our days. And death is a certain thing that will come to every one of us. And I remember a little poem I read back years ago when I was a teenager, because the place you spend your eternal destiny is determined in this life, not after life. You determine today what is going to be the fate of all men is certain. The future of all men is different. Because my future is not in the hands of an unknown future. My future is in the hands of a known God who will take my life, because this little poem I read said, life is short, death is sure, sin is the cause, Christ is the cure. So after death, there's no second chance. There's not any more opportunity. And so if universalism is true, everybody's going to the same place. We're going to die, whether wicked or good or righteous. If we're all going to the same place, we're all going to enjoy the same thing, then why preach the gospel? Because the gospel is the life that leads to Christ. And here's another thing. If this life is all there is, then we of all men are most miserable. We're pitiful, Paul said. And so if someone says, I don't care what life is, this is the end of it, and like someone said, every one of us are going to wind up like that little greasy spot in the road where the roadkill was run over by somebody. Don't believe it. The body may die, the body may give up, but the soul will live with God. And the one who knows God, even though death is certain, the ones who know God will be with him. Those who don't know God will be experiencing his judgment. So Solomon lets us know death is certain. But he goes on in chapter 9 and tells us that life is uncertain. If death is so certain, let's do what we can to be successful while we're here. And let's be satisfied with knowing that our hard work is paid off. Well, don't be so sure. All the accomplishments of men, all the attainments and all the education and all the works of men will one day come to a close. And their life and their legacy and their memories may live on beyond that. But listen to what he says in verse 10. Whatever your hand finds to do, verily do it with all your might. Now, Paul mentioned that and said that very thing in 1 Corinthians 10. For there is no activity or planning or wisdom in Sheol where you're going. Now, Sheol is the place of all the dead. It's not just it's a place where God separates folks. So all men go into that place, as Solomon writes these words. I again saw under the sun that the race is not to the swift, and the battle is not to the warriors, and neither is bread to the wise, nor wealth to the discerning, nor favor to men of ability, for time and chance overtake them all. Moreover, man does not know his time, like fish caught in a treacherous net, and the birds trapped in a snare. So the sons of men are ensnared, and at an evil time when it suddenly falls on them. Also, this I came to see as wisdom under the sun, and it impressed me. There was a small city with few men in it, and a great king came to it, surrounded it, and constructed large siege works against it. But there was found in it a poor wise man, and he delivered the city by his wisdom. Yet no one remembered that poor man. So I said, wisdom is better than strength. But the wisdom of the poor man is despised, and his words are not heeded. The words of the wise heard in quietness are better than the shouting of a ruler among fools. Wisdom is better than weapons of war, but one sinner destroys much good. Life is filled with uncertainty. Things can seem to be going some way. And sometimes you hear people tell you things about life, philosophize, usually at breakfast in the little local places like Hardee's and other little restaurants during the weekdays. People sit around and discuss the issues of life. And you know what I would say? If you're so smart, why ain't you rich? And so Solomon says, listen, there are a lot of people who have great things happen to them. We sometimes wonder, how does that politician rise to that place in the Congress or in the life of the world when he seems to be so filled with foolishness? And we sometimes wonder, how does somebody become so wealthy in their life and they seem to have nothing more going for them than someone else you know who has a great wisdom, but they have little or nothing? Solomon says it's a mystery. It's uncertain. Life is filled with this uncertainty, and the abilities that you have do not guarantee success, he says. And the opportunities you have do not guarantee success. A wise man could have delivered the city, but a poor man that no one listened to, he's the one who actually did it. The loudmouth ruler got the attention, but led them to defeat. So we see here that life is uncertain. Folly is used 9 times in chapter 10 we're going to look at now. And the basic principle is that folly creates problems for those who commit it. So we start off in chapter 10. He says this: dead flies make a perfumer's oil stink. So a little foolishness is weightier than wisdom and honor. Folly is used over and over. What dead flies are to a perfume, so is folly to a wise person's reputation. And foolishness shows up in people who have hearts inclined to folly. And even after people have given direction, the fool makes it evident that he is a fool. So the third thing we see here, not only is death certain and life uncertain, but fools are unavoidable. He starts off by telling us here about the foolish ruler in verse 4. He says, if the ruler's temper rises against you, do not abandon your position, because composure allays great offenses. There is an evil I have seen under the sun, like an error which goes forth from the ruler. Folly is set in many exalted places, while rich men sit in humble places. I have seen slaves riding on horses, and princes walking like slaves on the land. So the foolish ruler exists, has no self-control and no courage, and seems to dominate the high places of power and position. Fools are unavoidable. We sometimes watch those on television and think, how could somebody be so foolish? How could they sound so idiotic? But they are, because that is an unavoidable thing in life, that people who have no sense about anything seem to rule, and Solomon noticed that. He goes on in verse 8 and talks about the foolish worker. Listen to what he says. He who digs a pit may fall into it, and a serpent may bite him who breaks through a wall. He who quarries stones may be hurt by them, and he who splits logs may be endangered by them. If the axe is dull, he does not sharpen its edge, then he must exert more strength. Wisdom has the advantage of giving success. If a serpent bites before being charmed, there is no profit for the charmer. Words from the mouth of a wise man are gracious, while the lips of a fool consume him. So there's the foolish worker, one who does things in a way that seems to be that he's doing good things, but he finds destruction is his end. And his words can become compared to weapons of war and a fire and a poisonous beast, a snake, in his life. And James mentions that as well in his work, and about the fire and about the poisonous serpent that may come in those times. But they also, we notice in verse 12, not only is there a foolish worker, but there's a foolish talker, because verse 12 said they speak destructive words. So his work may be foolish, and he doesn't have the caution to avoid trouble in a situation, digging a pit or doing something. But there's those who talk foolishly as well. They speak destruction. The power of their words can be compared to weapons of war. And they speak unreasonable words in verse 13. He says here, the beginning of his talking is folly, and the end of it is wicked madness. And so all the talk that goes on can be so foolish. I think about how Jesus told us to weigh our words and make sure that we realize every word will be weighed, every word will be looked at, and our idle words will stand in a time. Sometimes you think to yourself, should I say something? And social media has given an explosion of everybody's expression of how they feel. Why in the world do we need to know what everybody thinks about something? And so I remember in the early days of Twitter, pastors saying, you need to get on Twitter. Now, this was many years ago, like 10 years ago, you know. And I looked at these guys who were putting things out there, and they were talking about, I'm going to the store. Well, who cares if you're going to the store? And so it became a crazy little thing to write about everything you're doing. And now they're talking about everything they know. And every time someone has to go before Congress and be confirmed by somebody, a committee, someone will say, well, you wrote on Twitter 4 years ago, or you wrote on X 2 years ago. And they'll tell them all the things they said. He said, I don't remember that. So you better remember what you write. You better remember what you say. There's foolish talkers. They speak words that are destructive. They speak words that are unreasonable. They make no sense. They don't recognize authority. They recognize different things that are authority. But verse 14, they speak uncontrolled words. He says in verse 14, yet the fool multiplies words. No man knows what will happen. Who can tell him what will come after him? None of us know the next day. As smart as we may be, there's nobody printing the paper today about what's going to happen tomorrow. It just doesn't happen that way. And so we come to realize foolish workers, foolish rulers, foolish talkers, they speak all kind of things that are against God and against one another. They speak boastful words. Notice what he says at the end of 14 and 15 of chapter 10. No one can tell him what's coming after him. Verse 15, the toil of a fool so wearies him that he does not know how to go to a city. He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know where to go. Boastful word. Knows all about his future plans, but he can't tell you how to get around in the city. And so today we have GPSs that tell us how to get places. I turned mine off when I got my last vehicle because I was tired of two women trying to tell me where to go. That was a joke. I didn't know if you understood. My wife is sitting here today, so I didn't know if you got that. So there's those that just say, I can't find my way around. And they can't get any place. They can tell you about what they're going to do, but what in the world does it matter? They speak boastful words. And then he talks to the foolish officers, beginning of verse 16. The toil of a fool so wearies him that he does not even know how to go to a city. Woe to you, O land, whose king is a lad, and whose princes feast in the morning. The lazy ones, the ones who are indulging on things that most of us don't even know about. Blessed are you, O land, whose king is of nobility, and whose princes eat at the appropriate time for strength and not for drunkenness. So he makes it very clear there are men who work for us who are filled with indulgence. They're focused on that and that happens in every area of life. You read about someone and you see that they're having trouble, whether it be in an institution, whether it be a spiritual Christian institution, whether it be a government institution, whether it be another place where they go and they live their lives filling themselves with the pleasures of life, indulgences of life, laziness and selfishness catch up with them. Many of you read Oswald Chambers through the years in your devotions. Oswald Chambers lived over 100 years ago. He was known for a lot of writings that he did not do necessarily to write books. He just wrote things in his sermons. Oswald Chambers said, spiritual maturity is not reached by the passing of the years, but by obedience to the will of God. People could tell you sometimes, he is such a young spiritual, wise young man. You know why? He obeys God. And a person who lives a long time but never learns to obey God, he's an old fool. You've heard that term, haven't you? And so Solomon reminds us there are people who live their lives seeking to indulge themselves in whatever they think is important. But verse 18, he says something else here. He says, through indolence the rafters sag, and through slackness the house leaks. Now, we don't know why this awning fell out here. But he says here that there's a reason for that. It just got old, it just got weary. And so you come to realize that sometimes incompetence, not paying attention to things, not keeping up with things, causes it to fall apart. Just the aging process of buildings and time cause things to happen. And a president a number of years ago, Woodrow Wilson, not always known for a lot of good things in his life. He was the president during the First World War. He said this about Washington while he was the president. He said, every man who takes office in Washington either grows or swells. When I give a man enough office, I watch him carefully to see whether he's swelling or whether he's growing. That is real important. It's important to see whether we do just that. Verse 19 tells us the foolish officers also exhibit indifference. He says, men prepare a meal for enjoyment, and wine makes life merry, and money is the answer to everything. That's what they think. I just take life as it comes. I'm indifferent to all the things. As long as I'm satisfied, as long as I have everything I think is important, that's all that matters. And then look at verse 20. There's also among foolish rulers, foolish officers, there's indiscretion. Verse 20 says, furthermore, in your bedchamber do not curse a king, and in your sleeping room do not curse a rich man, for a bird of the heavens will carry the sound, and the winged creature will make the matter known. He said that before the days of hidden video cameras. He said that in the days before recordings. He said, be careful what you say. One of the things I do, and it's probably kind of silly, but sometimes I watch these body cams of police officers arresting people for pulling them over and different things. And one guy killed his wife. I watched on one. But the foolish thing he did was he had video cameras in every room. And when the police tried to come to him, he claimed that she shot herself, but she used 2 guns and made 2 shots. Couldn't figure that one out. But they got the video, and all the video showed everything that happened. Heard all the words that he said. And so be careful when you're in a quiet place that even the things you say can get you in trouble. Solomon says, watch out. Because what you whisper in the bedchamber will be spread everywhere. It'll be known everywhere. And you have to be careful with your words. And the indiscretion of someone may cause them not to respect the person they're talking about, but as they also need to respect the office. Proverbs 26:11 says, as a dog returns to his vomit, so does a fool to his folly. So as we come to chapters 9 and 10, death is certain. Life is uncertain. And fools are unavoidable. So you ask yourself these questions. Am I aware of the certainty of death? And have I made preparations so that when I leave this life and I stand before God, whether I have done much or whether I've done little, that I will answer to God about my life and ask, and as God asks me, why should I allow you into heaven? Have you made your reservation? Because I have. And no matter what I've done, His grace and His mercy receive me. Am I trusting God right now in the uncertainties that life brings? There's not a week that there's something uncertain in life that doesn't come our way. We've got problems that are over our nation and over our world that we sometimes consume ourselves with. But you know what we also have? We have problems that are right here. I've got my own personal struggles, my own conflicts, my own questions, my own issues of life. And so the issues of the world sometimes seem to be a distraction from my personal issues. And every one of us has to answer before God about those issues. Death is certain, life is uncertain. And do I realize while I live in this life, you're continually running into fools in their folly. You're running into people that will tell you one thing and live one way and talk another way and try to give you their best advice about how to live life. listen, you better make sure you're living your life according to what God has said and take what he says before you listen to all the wisdom of the so-called world. So where are you today? How do you stand before God as he looks at your life? Do you realize that we all are headed to that one place? God has numbered our days. He's going to bring life to a close and bring us to a place where we will stand before him and answer to him. You know, one of the things I thought about in the last few days with the death of Charlie Kirk. Charlie was a believer. A lot of folks didn't agree with him. Some people thought he did some wonderful things, and I believe he did. But you know, all the issues that people take with him, here's the thing, as a believer, we understand. A believer, no matter how life ends for them, how life comes to a close for them, Charlie's in the presence of the Lord Jesus. You know what? He doesn't look back and say, they got a mess to deal with, but you know what? I would never leave what I'm experiencing right now. Hey, it came to a tragic ending. It came to an awful thing. What about your family? You know what? He would never want to leave the joy of the presence of the Lord and go back. And if we look at life, we never know how our life will end, but life will end. And how will we stand before God when it does? Bow with me and pray with me this morning. Have you come to a place where Christ has come into your life by faith? He's become supreme in your life because you've realized that I'm going to die one day. And there's something more beyond this life. And God has brought me to a place where I realize that the only way I'm going to get there is not by my works or my deeds or my efforts or my accomplishments, but by my faith in the God who has raised Christ from the dead, who has made him Lord and Christ, and he has become supreme in my own life. I ask you, Father, today that you will search our hearts. We sing as we think on these things. We pray that you would speak to us about where we are with you. I pray that you would bring each of us to a place where we say yes to Christ, who said yes to the cross. Help us, Lord, today to trust you, because you alone are the life giver, the one who can change things, the one who can make a difference in our world and in our life. Help us to keep our eyes on you no matter what. We pray these things in Jesus' name.